All right, joining us now here on In the Circle at D1 Softball, powered by 643. I promised her 2 years ago at some point we'd make this happen on the podcast when I met her in Orlando when the Texas Longhorns were playing at UCF, and well, I'm 2 years late, but here we are. She is in her fourth season on the Texas staff, assistant coach and associate. Was a two-time All-American at Texas State, two-time Player of the Year, was an All-NPF performer during her 5 seasons playing in the NPF, including an MVP in 2005. She recently made the D1 Softball All-Quarter Century list for the top 25 greatest mid-major softball hitters of this century. I speak of Kristen Zeleski, kind enough to join us for the first time here on In the Circle. I promised it to you 2 years ago. Now here we are.
You did. I appreciate it. Thank you for following up on it.
Better late than never, as they say. So let's talk first about this year's team here. Obviously, how are you all feeling right now overall as you get ready to play Baylor here in a big series here, non-conference, which I'm still getting used to saying that,
Yeah.
but a very talented Baylor team. But how do you feel where you're at as a team right now?
I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like obviously there's room to grow, and I think any team can say that right now, even if you're firing on all cylinders. But I think we're doing a lot of things well, and Coach White challenged us on a few things this past weekend to get better at, and the team responded well. But I think Tegan's throwing it well, and I think as a staff, our pitchers have all come in and done a good job at different times, and so they've all had their moments where they've come in and kind of done their thing and shined, and then hitting, we've hit home runs, we've gotten extra base hits, we've used short game, we steal bases, we have the power, we run well, we have speed, and defensively we're turning double plays, we're making some plays, outfields are making some catches and making some throws. So there's a lot of things that are going well, but we always mark the plays on film to go over, and here's where we can get better. Hey, we should have done this, we could have done this, and could have attacked that. And so, but I like where we're at.
Let's talk about for your role. For those that don't know, you're the associate head coach. Just discuss for those your role and how it's evolved as since you arrived there at Texas, working for Coach White. I know you've been involved with the offense for a long time, but just kind of explain for the audience that may not be aware of your roles on a daily basis with the program.
Yeah, I primarily work with the outfielders and do a lot with team culture, team building, just kind of day to day along that line. Do stuff with base runners, and right now focus more so on anyone using short game and things like that. It's kind of been uh, just kind of go with the flow almost a little bit as far as the offense side of it. Sing and I work together pretty well with offense stuff. He was the lead, he's the hitting guy, and he let me chime in and kind of provide input here and there. I throw a lot of BP, and same thing right now. Aaron's the hitting guy, but I chime in here and there, and just kind of try to figure out where I can provide value at whatever time the team needs it, and just try to pay attention to that side of it, to where to insert what at the right time.
Mike White told me this is the best he's felt about the outfield from a defensive standpoint, and obviously the production as well, but just defensively. Gave you credit in his media availability. Just talk about what is the key to coaching up the outfield and getting the best out of them.
Well, they're very talented and they're veteran. A lot of the ones that have been kind of earning the starting roles are talented. They're all talented, but they're veteran players. And so it's listen to them a lot too. Don't get in their way, because they've spent a lot of time, doing what they do, and they're good at it. And so it's just, again, I like film and showing them, hey, we could have done this better or that better, and talk through things like that, but get a feel for what do you feel like you need to get better. And we spend, like, we'll tailor it specifically to what they're asking for, and where they feel like they need, because again, confidence goes a long way, and if they're not confident in something, then it's going to show. And so I want to spend a lot of time on things that they feel like they need to get better at. And so I listen to them a lot. But we also have certain things that I come to practice with, come to the field with, that I know we need to do this. And it's how can I deliver the message in a way that it's well received and it challenges them, but they're also willing to accept and do the same thing.
You mentioned obviously you've worked with Steve Singleton. Now you're working with Aaron, early one in his first season there. How's that adjustment like for you? Is it a big adjustment, a minor adjustment? What's it like? I know they have their styles, but philosophies. But at the end of the day, it's hitting. So how was that for you, going from working with Singleton to now working with Aaron?
Yeah, it's just learning a whole new person and a different personality, and that doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just different. And so it's just, again, I've the I've been a few places along the way, and I just try to figure out how can I provide value where I'm at and the role that I'm in, and it's going to look different when you have different people in there doing different things. And so at the end of the day, hitting's hitting, and as long as your players, especially at this level with the talent that we have, as long as they feel good about what they're doing and they're confident about what they're doing, it's just working with that. But it's been an adjustment for sure, but that's also a good thing. Like it doesn't make it anything other than I just have to learn how to figure out how does this work and how do we need to work together to be the best we can for what the team needs.
I want to ask you about two players I know you've worked with, Kate Henry, Leanne Good. Unbelievable starts this season's for them. Good, especially everybody's marveling and leading the team in batting average as we talk. And Henry, just talk about their development as you've worked with them and their growth in their overall game.
Yeah, so much about what makes them good is how smart they are and just the time that they've had here and just growing up, it's made them so much better at the game because of how they understand the game. They came in talented and they came in with good softball IQ. It's just that has developed over time and they understand the game and they're playing well. Last year, Caden and Leanne both were kind of battling through some injuries and some just things with their body. And I think they're both in a good spot health wise. And so that opens the door to getting to be right, up here and getting to play well because you feel better. But their softball IQ is outrageous, and that makes a difference right there. And again, I think Leanne's just gotten stronger and she's just in a good place mentally. She's always had this, but with her body being in a better spot, that's just really been the path for her to be as elite as she is. And she's just honestly in such a good spot. And Kaden kind of made some tweaks to her swing, I would say, little less than a month ago now, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And that's made the difference, I feel like, for her. But again, what Kaden does well is not carry something from one at bat to the another. And she's always been good at that. And that looks different to some people. And if you don't understand her, you may be frustrated with that. But if you understand her, you understand that, oh, she's just that's how her reaction is, and she's not carrying it with her. And I think Leanne's gotten a lot better at that this year too.
No doubt she has. She's
Yeah.
hitting an incredible level. I want to ask you about a couple of the new faces. Kaya Altmaier came over from Arizona there, and then JC Nichols, the young freshman there. What have you seen from those two so far, and what's it been like getting to know them?
I love them. I love them so much, and I love that that's the names you brought up. Kaya transferring over has been such a great addition, and I'm so glad she picked here. And just she's so mature, and she carries herself so well, and she's a silent leader that we're trying to get to speak up a little bit more often. But she just has a good head on her shoulders and plays the game right. And she's been well coached, coming into this. And so again, it's just kind of don't get in her way. How can you help her still get better? And I've enjoyed every bit of time I've had getting to coach her in the outfield and a little bit hitting and things. And JC has been incredible. She's so fun to watch. She's so dynamic and good on the bases, has so many tools batting, is an elite defender. And again, like so happy that she is here. And we always like people kept talking about like who's going to replace Mia Scott. And I know that's a hard name and a hard person and a hard level of talent to replace. And I don't know that you ever say that you replace her, but I think JC has filled into that role at third base flawlessly and is just so fun to watch over there.
Coach White has described it as a collaborative effort with you and Aaron and the offense. when you say, you talked about working, getting to know him there. What's that like working, collaborating on an offense together? You were, with short games. Is it where you just throw ideas at each other? What's it like working collaborative there together as a staff on the offensive end?
Yeah, Coach White likes to kind of refer to it as just like likes to throw stuff out there and see what sticks. And so he likes to be devil's advocate sometimes, and we all just kind of battle it out the best we can, and then kind of go with whatever idea we feel, is the one that we're leaning toward. Or at the end of the day, Coach White's the boss. But I do like hearing all the different angles of it. And there's so many different ways that you can teach it. And again, it's what's going to work best for that kid. And I think Coach White is really good at just understanding that there's no one way to do it. And so he does like and appreciate and invite all of the different opinions as long as they're delivered well.
Exactly. No doubt about that. Um, what is the key to teaching the short game? Because talking to Coach White over the years, he talked about the value of you bringing in with the short game because he wants that mix in the offense. Everybody nowadays, it's all about the slugging and the power, and certainly it's important, and you have that. But I remember him telling me like to get to that national championship, you have to have a short game because you can't just depend on the long ball. And I remember he really liked how you taught the short game and the impact and the mix. What's the key to teaching a short game in today's day and age when a kid's like, I want to be a power hitter?
Yeah, and I think it's just good to have a mix of people that have different tools on your roster. And so if you're the Reese Atwood and the Katie Stewarts and the Hannah Welleses and all that, please, swing away, hit your home runs, hit your doubles, do your thing. But if you can provide value by having more tools, well, then let's develop them. And so there's kids on our team that can, like you just mentioned, how good Leanne Good's doing. And yeah, she can hit home runs, she can hit doubles, but she can also lay down a bunt and move a runner or get on base. Or we went to her with a squeeze this weekend. It was a ball that bounced and ended up working anyway. And if you can elevate your game to where you have just that many more tools to provide that much more value by having power, by having speed, by having short game, like that's what I would tell hitters, coming into this, like how many different ways can you provide value? And if you have speed, like why not introduce short game as another way to get on base? And if you're a home run hitter and that's what you do, well then cool, that's what you do. Just find a way to be elite at that. But with the short game, like I think that's what took Ashton Maloney to a new level next year, is like it finally, or last year, it really started to click with her how we were doing it. And she started off, not as hot this year, but she's starting to get back going again. And so it's just mainly keeping this right while you're still working through the other things. But I've taught short game a few different ways, and it's just figuring out which way does it work for that person, and are they only a short gamer? Like, do they mainly just slap and bunt, or do they also have a swing away, or is it a righty that also can bunt? And so it's kind of figuring out different ways to make it work for that style of person. And I went back to a way that I used to teach hitting a few years ago, and that's what worked for Ashton. And really kind of it just made it click for her. And so that's what we stuck with for a while. And so we're just kind of trying to find, there's one little piece missing right now with that we're trying to get back on track with her. But I think she's on the right track now. Um,
That's pretty. Where did you learn to be adaptive? You've talked about being adaptive, obviously with going from Singleton to obviously early wine there and learning each person there, but also teaching the players and coaching the players. Where did that come from you being able to adapt and say, okay, this might work for this player, but it may not work for this player. So let me adapt here to get the result we need.
Yeah, I guess it's just because I've been at a few places and have just tried to figure out again, like where can I provide value? And honestly, I'm usually not gonna be like the loudest one in the room or the one talking or this and that. So I observe a lot, and I think that's just kind of allowed me to see things from different ways, and also just kind of, I guess I've coached at different levels and played at different levels, and so there's a lot of, and And not that someone that's been at the same level couldn't see it, but it's just I think it's just opened my eyes to seeing things different and just trying to figure out like I don't really care if I'm the one with the voice out there as long as it's working for whoever I'm trying to get it to work for. And I think that's what's helped me with that side of it.
No, that's really good there. How would you say Coach Zeleski is different from Kristen Zeleski, the player? Like if you were able to coach yourself, the player version of you, how would that go?
Oh gosh, I would probably be, it would be a love-hate relationship, to be honest. I think that's why I try to help them on the mental side of the game so much. I wouldn't say that that was my strength at the time, and I wish I would have been better at that. And so I try to help that side of us be right because at this level, whether you're at Texas or whatever level, like whatever school at this level, like the talent is there. It's how can you bring that out and allow them to show that um, more often than not. And it's making all of the other things right. Like, are we the best team that we can be? Are we loving each other, supporting each other, playing for each other? Am I putting in the work here as much as I'm putting in on the swing and things like that. And so, like, I practiced hard as a player, but I didn't quite understand all of the other parts of it that you needed to put into it. And so I think that's where I would have, if I was coaching me, I would have pushed myself to understand that more. And looking back, like I always wonder, like, did coaches try that with me and I just didn't understand the message? I was just not quite developed up there yet to understand that, or did I just miss it, or did was that just missed in my journey? And so that's the part that I try to bring to them at the same time.
And that experience as a player has helped you as a coach relate to the players and what their
Yes.
mindset might be and get the most, right?
Yes. Yeah, just having to talk the other day with one of them. I'm like, I don't know what y'all's perception of like me is on like whatever these different levels are. I was like, I was a mess. And so like here's what I thought in this thing and I've had that same thought and I've done this and I did this, but I like and I tried and I related to them on a level that they didn't know that that's how I could relate to them. And I think that was maybe something that helped something click for them on things that we were working through on the mental side of things and confidence and pressure and like just process over results and things like that.
Let's talk about your journey in softball and playing career. You end up going to Texas State. You come up every time me and Ricky Woodard talk because every time she's got a talented hitter, we're like, well, she's not at the Zaleski level, or she's right there. She's close. Like, where does she rank? It's Zaleski, and then okay, the conversation begins. What got you into playing softball growing up, and how'd you end up at Texas State?
I guess just watching my older sister play. When I was always just the kid running around, getting dirty in the dugout or in the bleachers, watching my sister play, and my dad coached her growing up. And so, but I never wanted to play on a team. I just wanted to play with my dad or my sister or whatever, like down at the park and uh, down the street from our house. And I eventually started playing on a team when I was 10. And played 5 sports in high school, but liked softball the most. It wasn't what I got recruited to play the most. I was actually received the most like letters for basketball, but softball is what I wanted to do. And so, but just played on kind of a local select team. And finally, my last couple years of playing select ball, played on a bigger team, but it was still fairly local. Like when you're looking at what softball is now and like what it was then, and I just didn't know it and ended up picking Texas State just for the fit. I went on a couple of other different visits, but the fit just felt right at Texas State and um, loved every bit of my journey at Southwest Texas. And then it turned to Texas State my last year. And um, yeah, I was drafted to play in the pro league after that, and it was quite the adjustment. I think I hit under 300 my first year coming from the Southland Conference into the pro league at the time. I hadn't seen that level of pitching every single day, every game, and it took some adjusting to, and it took a lot of work up here to try to figure out like how do I do this and am I doing the right thing and eventually like just got to keep putting in work and
I think you put the work in. It's worked
I
out.
put the work in.
It put
Yeah.
in. Yeah, you won an MVP in 2005, an all NPF performer there. Wait, so you basketball, more people. What position did you play basketball? And like, is there a famous coach that maybe showed interest in you? Give me a breakdown on your basketball here.
But again, like I didn't go to any like I didn't go to camps like any sport necessarily. It was just letters that I was getting in the mail. Um, I don't even I remember like San Diego State or Vanderbilt, I
It's
think, or
okay. Okay.
some.
Were you a
I
front
don't.
court, forward, guard? What was your
I
style?
was. I would say a shooting guard more than anything. I did some point guard stuff, but I wasn't the best ball handler, but I could shoot.
That's good. Shooting's good.
Yeah.
Did that help you though? Because I've had a lot of players and coaches that play multi sports say that's actually better. They like that.
I love it.
Yes.
I
Okay.
love it. Please play, be an athlete. Be an athlete. And I think it's just better on your body. Like, yes, you're playing more sports and you're doing more things, but you're not doing the same repetitive motion over and over and over. Like you like okay, like which is the opposite of like, okay, if I'm trying to develop a swing, it's going to take however many swings to get it right and a repetitive motion. But when we're talking wear and tear on a body over the course of years, like I want an athlete. I think the best thing for me was my parents bought me a trampoline, and we had a trampoline in the yard growing up, and I did gymnastics and trampoline stuff in the backyard and just learned how to be an athlete and then got better at honing in on my sport.
Think it worked out well. You mentioned obviously the NPF. You played for the then Texas Thunder the first 3 seasons,
I
and
did.
then it goes moved to the Rockford Thunder in 0708. I want to start with the Texas part because it's kind of full circle moment here. 20 years later, since their last season of that Thunder season in Texas, there's going to be an AUSL season, the second season of the AUSL, with a franchise in Texas with the Volts. Cat Osterman will be the GM, Ricky Wooders the head coach. What's your reaction to pro softball coming back to Texas 20 years later as someone who was a part of that 20 years ago?
I love it. I love it, and I want it to work so bad. And they're doing so many things right. And there's just so much more interest and so much more. Just the game has grown so much. I got to be an assistant coach last year for the Volts, and just to be around that level of player and just how much more they understand the game and just the level of interest from fans everywhere we went across the country. People were there and they were craving it, wanting it, loving it, and just I love where it's at and where it's headed. They're doing a lot right, and to have a home base back in Texas and right here local is exciting, and I like that for the sport and for all of the kids that are growing up watching it and dreaming of doing it, and just the promotion of females doing this has been incredible.
Of course, you played with Cat Osterman
I did.
during that time. Now she's broadcasting your games, or when she can, when she's not doing national stuff there. What's it been like having Cat around broadcasting, but also just around the program after being, your teammate over there in the pros?
Yeah, it's been nice. Like, yeah, she was played against her in college, was teammates in the pro league for a little while, and she's been around our players. And her being in the sport, coaching with the Bombers, having coached a lot of our players, like they love having her around. We love, having a Texas alumni that is so notable and so good at what she did and what she's still doing for the game. It's nice to have that, and we all love her kids, and so it's just nice having her around, and the players that they're all have grown close to her, and again her family through the years, and so we love having someone that one played here, so of course she wants Texas, all things Texas, to do well, but just the sport of softball, she wants it to go well, and she's doing a lot to help grow the game and to make this right, and we love having her around, and like just the players and get to pick her brain as far as, she's played at the high level all across the board and for a long time, and she's done it all, seen it all. And so I think she's a great person and a great softball mind to get to have access to. And we appreciate it a lot.
Definitely. You were part. That was a cruel group you were a part of during those seasons in the NPF. That's when I first started following pro softball. I think we talked about this when you were in Orlando, because you played with Allison Kime, who obviously
Yes.
I started broadcasting. Then I called her games, and she got me
Yes.
hooked on softball. I think Stephanie Best was briefly your
Yes.
teammate in '08. Okay,
Yep.
as well. I think you had Amanda Williams, right? I think was maybe your
With
teammate
it.
there. Yep,
Yeah,
Megan
her and my
Willis.
twin sister. Yep.
Yeah, Megan was Megan Brown, who I think is now the Longwood head coach. Was she your teammate there?
Yes. She
You
was
see,
my teammate.
I'm
Yeah.
Mr. Thunder. I know I love the Thunder
Yeah.
team. I went to cover them there. What was it like being around those group, traveling like you were back then? And because they are all a lot of them are still involved in softball.
They are. Yeah. I would say travel is different now than it was then,
Thankfully, yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it. It's just stories, and I'm so glad that I've gotten to play with so many of those people that are still part of the game now. And when we see each other and get to reminisce on those times, it's awesome. And again, like I loved playing in Texas when it was the the Thunder was part of Texas, but then when it moved to Rockford, with the history of the Rockford Peaches, having been there and having met a couple of the women that played for the Rockford Peaches that were still around and would come watch us play, just to play at a place that was so historic and part of that history. Um, it, I miss it. If I could still be playing, I would. Of course, my brain wants to, but my body, it's been done a long time now. But I do enjoy getting to see everyone that we've played with that's been part of the journey, and whether they're still part of the game or not, I've run into them here and there, and it's been quite enjoyable. Yeah.
I do remember those peach dresses. I think it was right
Yeah, the little
outfits.
skirts that they played in.
I've seen those. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was wild.
A League of Their Own, if you've seen it.
Yes. Yep.
Rockford
The
Peaches.
movie. Very
Yeah.
well done. Very good. I recommend that people. You get into coaching. I think you were GA at first start off, right? At Texas State. And you paid your dues. You went a lot of different places to coach. Just talk about the journey. You were a head coach at Temple College. You were a head coach at Corpus Christi, but you've also been an assistant, a volunteer coach. Just talk about the journey and why coaching.
Yeah, yeah. I've gotten to again see the game from a large amount of different positions and levels. And so when I first got into coaching, it wasn't as a career, it was just kind of on the side of my career. Other than when I was still playing in the pro league, I coached select ball, and that's when I GA'd at Texas State, and then they moved us out of state in the pro league. And I'm old, so there wasn't online school at the time. So once they moved our team, I packed up and moved and worked for the team up in Rockford. But I gave lessons and all of that. So I did the lesson grind for a while still trying to play and everything. And when I moved back to Texas, was coaching select ball and helping with camps and clinics when I could, but was actually just working on a different career at the time. My degree was in criminal justice. So I've worked for a private investigator, for a bail bondsman. I've done juvenile detention. I've been a few different things along the way while still coaching and giving lessons and all of that. And my dad actually got the assistant coaching job at Temple College back in 2006. And once he did that, I would go help Temple College when I could with camps and different things. And when the head coach, the longtime head coach, retired in 2010, I applied and was fortunate to get the job and got to coach with my dad for 9 years then at Temple College. And so I was the head coach there. He was my assistant, but we all know who really listened to who. He was the boss still. That's what it is, getting to coach with your dad. But I love it. And I love that I got to have that, as part of my journey, and won Temple's first national championship with my dad in 2018. And that's just like each one has been different in its own way, that I've gotten to be a part of a national championship, but getting to win one with your dad and for the first time for your program was one of the more special moments that I've had in my coaching career. And so, yeah, I got to coach JUCO for 9 years, and then from there went to A&M Corpus to give it a try at the D1 level. Um, Timing was interesting because that's when COVID hit and just all kinds of different things were happening. And so I was down in Corpus just for a couple seasons as the head coach down there before. And rewind back when I was at Temple College, or I guess when I played in the pro league still, I met Patty Gasso. She coached our all-star team in the pro league and just stayed in touch with her over the course of the years and went up to play them in the fall when we could at Temple College. And I would work the OU camps when I could in the summer. And so that kind of just kept that door open. And I had worked a camp after I actually accepted the Corpus job while on the OU baseball field working camp, and then was up there working camp whenever the opportunity kind of came about for me to get up there and coach with them. And so had kind of played with that idea a little bit and didn't wasn't real sure what direction to go because I would be leaving a head coaching career to or a head coaching position to go volunteer, but it was going to be for Patty Gasso and one of the best or the best programs in the country. And I wanted to go just learn how to be better at my job and to manage a staff better and to just there were so many parts of the game that coming from a JUCO and not having access to a lot of things that then you become a manager of those things at the D1 level, and I didn't feel like I did it well, to be honest. And so I wanted to go learn from who I felt like was the best at it and that I had access to and had a relationship with and trusted. And so I resigned from my position at Corpus to go be a volunteer at OU and learned a lot. And it was tough. I mean, if someone turning 40 as a volunteer isn't necessarily the normal route that people take to go through their coaching career, but I wouldn't trade it, like yeah, there's interesting parts of your journey, some highs and lows, but I think that's going to be regardless of what path you take. And yeah, I loved every minute of being up in Norman, and I think just being in that position and at that level kind of opened up the door for me to end up here at Texas, and was working a camp in Oklahoma and crossed paths with Singh, and he's the one that was like, "Hey, this may be happening. Would you be interested?" And yeah, yeah. And so this opened up and got to move back here, and this is where I started my coaching career. Honestly, was in Austin, was coaching select ball here, and that's when I was driving back and forth to Texas State too. So kind of full circle moment, got to end up back in Austin where I started coaching, and here we are.
That's amazing. It's just a full circle. Get back to Austin, and oh, by the way, you cross paths with like a lot of the legends in the sport here with Patty Gasso, Mike White. I mean, every coach you've unbelievable. Have you thought of that? Like, wow, how fortunate
Yeah.
you've been to run to people that you've crossed paths with here in this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, it's been incredible. And when you look back on it, because like sometimes in the moment and at the time you don't realize like how special it is. And hopefully and I challenge people to get better at that, like being able to recognize that at the time. But like when you look back at it and just the people you've coached with, the people you've coached for, the people you have coached, and then just where it all takes you. And it's been awesome this past year. I've had a few former players, even back from like my Temple days, that have come back to watch us and getting to catch up with them. And so just everyone along your way, it finds a way to come back to you. And yeah, I've enjoyed the journey.
Yeah, especially it's just kind of wild too. Right in the middle of the great rivalry, the two of the best programs right now going into sport head to head. There, it's a unique there. What did your head coaching experience make you a better associate head coach slash assistant because you know what a head coach is thinking, what Mike White might be thinking? Has that helped you in the in retrospect going through that experience as the head coach?
I think so. Because not that I've been a head coach at this level, but I think being a head coach still comes into play as far as having to understand why some decisions are made the way that they're made. I think has helped me be able to provide input and feedback and kind of maybe some guidance and direction on some of the things going on. But at the same time, I think just having played at different levels and having coached at all the different levels also helps provide the feedback and to be better at my job. I think not just having been a head coach, but having been a player, having been a volunteer, having been a GA, having been an assistant, I think you just get to see how things work from every level because it's all different from where you're at, and your perspective is going to be different. And so just trying to again like see it. And again, I observe a little bit, maybe sometimes longer than you should before like acting on it. And I think just having gotten to see it from every direction almost has helped me be able to make the decisions I make or provide the input that I provide and
Paid
that
off.
thought process there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been paying off for you in the thought
Yeah.
process there for sure. On there for the regard. I mentioned earlier. You mentioned earlier. You criminal justice was what your
Yes.
major. Have you
Yes.
thought about what you'd be doing if you weren't coaching softball? Where you would be today? Like that's a
Oh,
pretty. That's high stakes. You're involved there. But that's a big job there to be criminal justice. Go in that area.
oh yeah. If I would have stuck with criminal justice, it would maybe be like FBI stuff, or I always wanted to be like something with forensics or forensic pathology, or you
Ooh.
know, it can go any direction. I'm really into all of that still.
So do you watch? Let me ask you this: do you watch the TV shows like Law and Order, like all
I
that?
don't. I don't
Oh,
because it's so just like, oh, forgive me, anyone that's, but it's just so not real.
okay. So you know all too much. You know too much that you know like this is nonsense.
Yeah, but there are some shows that you could still argue are not real that I do get into that are along like those lines and things. But
Like
I
which
do.
one? Which one would you watch? If I told you you're watching, which ones would you
One that I
watch?
just finished is Night Agent. Like I
Okay,
just finished that new
fair.
season that had come out, and I was into that, and I really liked The Recruit. I believe it was another
Yeah.
one that had come out. So more again, like more of like a special agent type
Okay.
work.
Wow.
During COVID, I got into a couple different shows that were more of the forensic pathology things and getting to do that side of work. But I didn't go to med school. I think you need more of a med school background
Fair.
to be better at
Okay.
that.
Okay. Any movies that stood out to you that they kind of got your brain going there from a criminal justice standpoint?
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot. I'm sure there's some, but I'm
I'm
gonna
just so
have to,
fascinated because I'm so
yeah.
fascinated. This is what could have been. Pursue. You could be in the FBI if you were not coaching softball. Like
Yeah.
this feels like a
Yeah.
show. This feels like a movie. Somebody should do a based on a softball coach by day, but an FBI agent, but not that you're by night. Like that feels like
I
a
think
TV
it could
show
be a
stuff.
thing. I think it
Yeah.
could be a thing. Or I would be a storm chaser or an
Ooh.
interior designer that's also a softball coach. So, I mean,
Storm Chaser, where they're obviously Twister and Twisters or
I loved that movie. I watched it twice the same day that it came out in the theaters. I remember that.
Bill
Yeah.
Paxton. Yeah. You like the sequel?
No.
Nobody does. I don't either. I don't either. It's fine. I don't either. I think we all like the original because of it helped too. They had Van Halen there in the theme
Yeah.
music. This is wild. Okay, well, you need to pitch this at some point, and you could just say it's your idea. You pitch this to where you have a softball person that works as an FBI. I feel like you could create a show. You could be like a co-producer. I feel like we got something here for you outside of softball. Maybe
And I just finished talking last night, 2 nights ago, to one of my best friends. I think we're going to sign up to be on The Amazing Race. And so if anyone
Whoa,
wants to put in a good word for us there, I think with all of our background and things and all the different directions this just went. But if
Amazing
you want to
Race.
if you want to throw that into the mix.
Okay, we got it public now in the pocket. Why Amazing Race?
That's the one that she wants to go on. I
Okay,
liked the Special Forces show as well, but the Amazing Race, it's just with the background that we have
sure.
of being college athletes, having coached, and we also just have our hands in a lot of different other things that we think that we'd be able to, again, like the adaptability part and things. I think that we would be good at the Amazing Race. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll try our best over here on the podcast. We had
Yeah.
Coach Papa here a few years back, and her niece was a singer, and on the reality show, we told people to vote, and she got a lot of votes. So we'll see what we could do
Yeah,
on
you
The
don't want
Voice.
to hear me sing. That will
No,
not be a thing that ends up
don't need to ask. Don't need
yeah.
to go there. Couple things. Like I mentioned earlier, you were voted as D1 softball 25 greatest mid-major hitters of this quarter century there, which you earned. For those that didn't get a chance to watch you play, how would you describe you as a player?
Oh gosh. I would say again, just kind of had a lot of different tools. If I hit a home run, it was almost by accident. It wasn't something I was trying to do, but I was fast and athletic, so I just played the game hard and fast. I may not have always understood what I was doing, but I just would go hard at doing it. But um, I think it was fun to watch. Made had a good arm, made some good plays, but yeah, I could bunt and get on or hit it and run around the bases as fast as I could. But was lucky that when I got to Texas State, Woodard was getting there and she was developing it into what it was being developed to be. And I had really good teammates, and we were like something that I always go back to again, like in coaching and in lessons, was my first year at Texas State. The leadership that we had from the senior class and really just like the bond that we had as a team has always stood out to me. And I've always loved how they went about what they did. And I try to kind of bring versions of what they did into lessons as like how to do that and to be a team. And so I think just having been put into that environment where things were going so well, and you had a new head coach that came in and was like eager and fresh and just doing a good job at that it just allowed me to get to play free and who I was. And it I was someone that did better having fun playing when some people do better being more serious and things like that. And I remember coach like telling us like she had to learn to get used to that we were a team that played better having fun and loose, and she wasn't used to that as a coach. And so it just kind of that those are some comments that always stuck with me, to be able to adjust to, can this team do that, or what do they need? What's their personality, and who can I allow them to be, and where do I need to step in and kind of correct?
No doubt on that. What went to your mind when the final out was the you realized you were the national champions last year? What went through your mind on the right there? You remember?
It was excitement, but almost more so just relief of everything that we had been working through and building. I would describe like winning as more of like just a like you could just finally breathe and that weight was off of you, more than anything. And then like the realization of what happened, and the happy and all of that happened later for me.
Say so. And I'm so you got a lot second half here to go. Started with Baylor. What's going to be some keys for your team? My last question here is it to get better at it and kind of accomplish your goals and try to get back.
Yeah, just to keep getting after it. And, just because it's working now, like whatever that thing may be, it may not be working later. So, how can I keep getting better at all aspects of the game so that if something isn't working that day, or if something failed that day, that's not all that I was relying on. And so, it's just to keep pushing them, to get better at all things, and to stay healthy and to keep working as a team at what we're doing. As long as we're staying together and playing for each other and supporting each other and trusting each other, and we're all on the same page there, we just got to keep keep working that way. And like, yeah, there's going to be setbacks along the way, and there's going to be things that challenge us, and can we rise above it and keep growing and stay together and not turn on each other through it, because that's going to be something that like we can't expect things to be perfect. And like, yeah, it's going well right now for us, and things are good, but that's not going to be the case, and we shouldn't expect it to be, and we should welcome it. Like, I liked that we went down 2-0 in the first inning, the other day against Ole Miss. I was like, I like this for us. We need to be challenged. Like, let's go. Show me how we respond. And so just try to find moments to challenge them along the way, so that in the end, when it's hitting the fan, that we've prepared in every direction that we can prepare for each scenario.
That is Texas Associate Head Coach Kristen Zeleski, a two-time All-American, two-time Player of the Year in the Southland in her playing days, an NPF MVP, and was on the D1 Softball Top 25 Greatest Mid-Major Hitters this quarter century. Coach, it was a pleasure. It was 2 years ago. I told you we'd try to get you on 2 years. You did not disappoint. It was awesome. We'll definitely try to get you on more frequently. Maybe not 2 years of separation, but you never know. You're busy. In fairness, I try to keep it. People are busy this time. But good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for telling your story and talking to us here on In the Circle and D1 Softball.
Thank you for having me.